They said we look great, and that's all that really matters. So
Okay, should be good. People were tuning in and are tuning in, and they said they can't hear anything. Now they can hear us.
Good.
Sorry about that, everybody. All right, so we were just talking about AI stuff. Listen to the podcast if you want to get into depth, because it did record that. So, as far as this episode is concerned, Ryan, you are our special guest. Going into this episode,
at all, none. So I had no clue going into this what it I knew the Skrull were involved, I knew Nick Fury was involved, and that was basically it. So
mhm,
I had zero expectations going in. I did feel like it was going to be more spy espionage feel to it, and it definitely seemed to be that vibe. But yeah, as far as like plot goes and everything else, I didn't even know Amelia Clark was in it
mm,
until yesterday.
yeah.
So I had nothing going into this.
Did it take you watching it to know that she was in it?
No, I was on TikTok and usually I like scroll past anything I see about some show that's coming up or a movie or anything.
Yeah.
But I saw Amelia Clark and it was an interview and she was talking about Game of Thrones. And so I was like, oh, okay, like just listening to it. And then I noticed the background has the secret invasions. And I'm like, and then she starts talking about secret invasions. I was like, oh no, okay, don't want any spoilers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I that was how I found out she was in the show, which made me excited because I like Amelia Clark.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than
I
that, had no idea.
I obviously I have to watch all the trailers. I act like I have to because of the Keeg, but I just always do just because I'm gonna watch it anyway. As long as it doesn't spoil anything, I think I'm fine. I was really excited about this show when it was first announced. Secret Invasion is like a big superhero crossover event in Marvel Comics, but it is like bonkers crazy. Like all the heroes are involved, and the Skrulls all have like composite powers and like of these heroes and whatnot, and they're like duplicating powers and whatever. So when they announced that they were going to do a movie, I think a lot of people thought they were going to do something like this. But when the trailer came out, it's a spy espionage thriller sort of show. It makes more sense this way for the MCU.
For,
I don't think the
I was gonna say
MCU
for
is
the
ready.
cinematic universe,
I don't think
yeah.
it's ready for this. We don't need this.
Hmm.
But that's my opinion. Riddhi, are you in the same boat, or were you expecting
So
this?
I haven't read the Secret Invasion comics apart from like what I've searched about it online.
Yeah.
I also didn't watch the trailers just because I'm not a trailer person anymore. I just feel like they give away too much, so I try to go in as blind as I can. So I also didn't really know what to expect. I think the biggest thing for me, the thing I was constantly thinking about when I see about Secret Invasion is what secrets is it going to reveal about characters that we thought we know about, but we actually don't, because they'll end up being scrolls.
Yeah.
And I think that was like my biggest kind of expectation going in, is I hope that they're able to tell a really rich and engaging story by kind of, surprising us in ways. And that's all I really hope for with this. I obviously think that the setup for it is for a really good story. And I kind of also like the fact that, obviously in the comic version, it's a lot. And in this one, it's a little bit more grounded. I
Yeah.
think I've been wanting some more like street action grounded MCU. So kind of glad that the show is going in that direction more than like a higher cosmic level, I suppose.
Yeah. I keep thinking we're in phase 5. We're in phase 6 now. I don't I feel, you know what I feel like? Yeah, we're in phase 6. The
I've
MCU,
totally lost track of all of the phases at
the
this
Oh, we're in
point.
phase 5.
phase
Wait,
5 ended with Wakanda Forever.
no,
No.
no. Phase 5 just started with Ant-Man. Phase 4 ended with
Oh,
Wakanda.
sorry. I mixed up my calculations. What I meant to say is we're one phase next after the phase that came after Endgame. Okay, you're right. We're not in
Yeah.
phase 6. I'm sorry. We're in phase 5. Phase 4
I was
ended
like,
with
I
Wakanda
must
Forever.
have missed a lot because there's
You
no
heard it here
way.
first. You heard it here first. Oh, you guys didn't know? You guys didn't know we're in phase
Secrets,
6?
secrets and invasions, man.
That's part of the secret. The secret is
Hmm.
We lost a whole phase because of my calculation.
Dang.
No, sorry. So you're right. You're right. We're on phase 5. But what I was trying to get at is we're past phase 4, and phase 4, everybody was talking about like where's MCU going after Endgame? What are they doing? Why are all these like pieces being set up? But like, you know, a lot of people had complaints. I didn't have as many complaints as other people. But did I read? I forget that Pyro Ouroboros is in the chat and says that I got him the Secret Invasion comic. Did I? Was this a long time ago? Because I forget. Good on me. I have no idea what's going on right now. I have no idea. What is time and space? Anyway, what was I saying? So anyway, what was I? We haven't gone street level since Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and that was phase 4. And I liked Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And so I feel like this is more of what like the MCU bros, not saying that they're right, but the ones that are hating on everything that has been coming out because it's too different. I think Secret Invasion is more up their alley. I don't know if I'm right or wrong.
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah, no, it feels very, I don't want to say old MCU, but it does feel like that. And I like that. I liked the new stuff. I liked all the different things, but I'd also like to have some of the old feeling back as well.
Yeah.
So I have no complaints so far. We're only 1 episode in. Well, I do have one complaint, but it's just because I'm attached to a certain character and I'm upset about it. So
yeah, I mean, we'll get in.
That's all.
We will. I mean, this is just the first episode, and I know that certain people who went to the premiere saw the 2 episodes, I think, at the premiere, and there were mixed reviews about the 2 episodes. But I don't think in a show like this, you can actually like grade the whole like series by the first 2 episodes.
On two episodes now.
Especially because they're setting up pieces in this story alone. Riddhi, the way it starts out, going into Secret Invasion episode 1, how were you digging it?
I actually, when I think about it, I actually quite liked it. I wouldn't say it was extraordinary, but I feel like it was good enough to set up the plot of what was going on. And I also really liked how it kind of did a lot in this episode. Like, when I think about it, can we get into like spoiler territory?
Yeah.
Okay, so something I was just thinking about right now was how they had the interaction between how to pronounce her name right, Gaia and Talos, and I didn't expect that. Like, I feel like that's something they normally like put off like in the last like 4 episodes because it's like something emotional or something. But I think having it be in the first episode was surprising in a good way, because I'm like, oh, like they're not trying to, like stop from bringing like something that could be an emotional event like this for kicks or something, leaving it in the last 2
like don't
or something.
prolong it.
Yeah. That's don't prolong it. Like, I feel like they kind of gave us little bits and pieces, and then the ending was like so frustrating. And then, but like, it's a good setup for what's to come. And even though it was exposition heavy, I feel like they kind of balanced the exposition with the action. I think it was like a decent episode. Like, it wasn't, it didn't blow my mind. But I also think that's like a really good thing. Like, it doesn't have to be extraordinary to capture your attention, because then you lose the magic if the rest of it isn't the same. It being decent is a strength to make me excited for the rest of it.
Yeah. Ryan, do you agree?
Yeah, I think they did a really good job with filling everyone in and catching everyone up too, because I was talking to my friend a little bit before this stream, and he has not seen Captain Marvel. But he had watched the first episode. He's like, yeah, I get it. Like, I understand everything that's, happened up to this point. You didn't have to go and, go back and research things, which is what you want. Like, it's great to have Easter eggs and things referencing to different, movies and TV shows, but for the casual Marvel fan that can't watch every single thing that comes out. It's great to be able to, all in that first episode, catch everybody up to the same point.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing that they said in the only thing you need to know is what they said. They said that, I mean, Skrulls are shapeshifters. They're a shapeshifting alien, right? And that Nick Fury promised them a home world after their home world was destroyed or whatever, right? That's all you really need to know. And then you get into the politics of it is there are some people that don't believe that Nick Fury is going to give them the home because I mean, we'll get into Nick Fury. I think it's a big thing in this episode and what they set up is that after the blip, which is coming back in Endgame, he became a different person is what they said. I don't know if the twist means he's gonna be a Skrull this whole time. I don't think so, but I think he's going through trauma, right? PTSD of losing the fight, not being there in the final battle. Like he didn't get to. He set up the pieces, but he didn't get to beat the bad guy. He lost, right? And then he booked it. He left Earth for Saber, which is, I think, the first time we're getting the name Saber. Because in the comics, I recall, yeah. In the comics, it's called Sword. Like the space one is called Sword, but in this,
didn't they use Sword in
WandaVision?
WandaVision, yeah.
They did.
Yeah, sentient world and research development
organization
or something. Yeah. It's like sentient weapons. It's like the robot stuff, I think.
And something defense. That's Division.
So they said he turned tail and ran. And so I guess the premise of the episode is that there's the faction of Skrulls that believe that Nick Fury's never going to keep his promise. He left Earth. So they're going to make their own new homeland. Problem is, their homeland means maybe humanity dies, right?
Yeah.
Fairly simplistic plot, but I thought it was
But
good.
it's well laid out because you understand their point of view of like, yeah, he made this promise and then he turned, booked it into outer space and we haven't heard from him and hasn't, given us any kind of updates on anything. Of course they're not going to believe him at this point. So
and it would also make sense that they specifically come for Earth and do it in such a way that humanity ceases to exist because Fury's whole thing was about protecting Earth and humanity from things like the Skrulls from destroying them. So kind of makes sense that it would be that drastic, I think, just given Nick Fury's role. So I'm glad that even though it's something that's can be seen as dramatic, it's very fitting, and I would say it's a good thing that they managed to justify it because I feel like a lot of the times you bring up dramatic stuff like this, it's okay, this is a little much.
Yeah. I think we're getting a different Nick Fury in this. And I think we're used to calm, cool, collected, always a couple steps ahead. And Maria Hill and him, when they're talking in the bar, they talk about how he's not 10 steps ahead anymore. He's just off and he just can't keep up. It's kind of like a No Country for Old Men. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
No.
No Country for Old Men, the movie, is really about Tommy Lee Jones. I mean, it he intros and outros the movie, but Tommy Lee Jones is an old sheriff, and he's I can't keep up with the new stuff anymore. And so it kind of is a prologue and epilogue of the movie. But then the whole movie is Josh Brolin versus Javier Bardem with some Woody Harrelson thrown in. But the point being is that Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury is an old man. And he's come back to Earth and his knees hurt. And I think that it shows that. But his knees hurt also because gravity, I'm assuming, is different, when you're out in space.
That's what I got is he had an injury and then the gravity was different coming back to Earth. But he could also just be making it out to be more than it is. So that people think he's off his game. That's something I kind of got. I was like, is he faking it?
You think?
Are you faking your limp right now? That's kind of what I got out of it.
Just when he gets kidnapped, he said he let them kidnap him and put a bag over his head. But do you guys think he did?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
And the reason being is when he was walking out of the apartment and Talos was like, "You're gonna stand out," and he kind of just gave him a look like, "Duh, that's what I'm trying to do."
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
yeah,
And he put the little eyeball thing on the.
he was prepared. That's what he
Yeah.
wanted. I'm not saying he's completely like 10 steps ahead and knows what he's doing. I do think, especially again, as we're getting to the end of the episode and the character dies and everything, I'm just like, just seeing his face, like he wasn't prepared for that sort of
No.
thing to happen.
He
But yeah,
wouldn't
I do think
sacrifice.
no, I just don't think he's as off-footed as people think he is.
Yeah. We get introduced to a couple new characters. We get Gravik, which is Kingsley Ben Adir, I believe. I know him from the Hulu series of
I was like, why does this name sound
what's
familiar?
the Zoe Kravitz show that was once a John Cusack movie? High Fidelity. Boom. There's a High Fidelity show on Hulu. I know him from that. That's where I know him.
I'm so bad with faces and names. I was trying to place the entire show. It's like, I know this guy, but I don't know where
He's been in
I
some
still haven't
other
looked at it.
stuff, but
He's in the Barbie movie. That's where I know his name.
oh,
is he?
He is in that. He's the like he fights Ken or whatever, right?
Yeah, he's one of the Kens, I think.
Oh no, yeah, you're right. No, he doesn't fight Ken. Simu Liu fights Ryan Reynolds, but oh, he's on the drums in the trailer.
I don't remember, but you're probably right. I just know he's one of the Kens. Like he's in the background and I've seen him there. So
I've been 50% this whole show, so I don't know if I'm probably right. It was a 50-50 shot tonight that I'm wrong. But so that's Gravik, and he is the leader of the terrorist Skrulls. We also get introduced to Gaia, which is a very interesting name because Gaia is the goddess of Earth in mythology, but she is Gaia with an I, and daughter of Talos. Have we met her? Is she in in Captain Marvel?
I feel like she wasn't.
Was she?
Was she a kid?
I think she was a kid. It's been 30 years. Because I remember we did see Talos' family, so I feel like there's no way that she wasn't there,
mentioned there. Yeah.
Shuby Dubert out there on Twitch says she is in the movie. She was a kid, but she had no lines.
Yeah.
And then Talos' wife is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Sonya, right?
Was that her name?
I think so. Sonya.
Yeah.
I thought Sonya was Olivia Colman's character.
Oh, it is Olivia Colman's character, but her name did start with an S.
Sasha?
I don't think it's
what was her name?
Was it like Soren or
Soren.
Soren. Okay. Well, there was an S and an N. It was close.
Yeah. Pyro Ouroboros says, wasn't she in the first film? Yeah, his whole family was, right? And then so supposedly Gravik has killed Soren. As far as we know. Pyro Ouroboros in the chat says she is dead, or so they say. It could be deception. That's the thing about this whole show. I don't know what to trust. Like,
I didn't think about that.
Like,
me too.
We're taking things at face value, and like
yeah, they said she's dead. Of course she's dead. Why would they make that up?
Shapeshifters, and everything. I don't know.
Although I do think she is dead because they killed off Hill.
Yeah.
Just so that they had both of them gone. So it's like they can't have the excuse of her because she was Maria, right? She was Maria, and Talos was Fury.
Far From Home. Yeah.
But what if Maria is Soren?
She would have turned into a Skrull right then and there at the end.
Oh,
that's yeah.
Okay.
But
I was honest.
Sorry.
So Maria's actually dead because I was just like, what if Maria did actually die?
We were trying to figure it out. Like when we were watching it here. Is she dead?
I'm very upset about it because I was like, I saw her at the beginning. I was like, yes, because again, I had no spoilers of this at all. So she came back, and I was like, yes, we haven't had her like in a show or movie
Yeah.
or anything for such a long time. She's such a cool character. I love her. And then she dies. I'm like, oh, okay,
But, like, what
cool.
if she isn't dead? Like, I just feel like it's maybe I'm like maybe she is dead. And like honestly, if she is, I would congratulate Marvel for doing that because I feel like the more obvious thing would be like, actually, she's not. She was a scroll the entire time. But I'm like still hoping she isn't because like same as you, I was excited to see Maria Hill again. Like I think she's a good character, and I liked
Yeah.
her as an agent and everything. So
And like ever since they dissolved Shield after Winter Soldier, like there's all
Mhm.
these elements of the Marvel Cinematic Universe that can't be utilized. And it's like they're trying really hard to do that. Like this is not a Shield organization kind of mission. This is just Fury
Mhm.
and his people, right?
mhm.
But
Yeah.
like Shield hasn't existed for so long. Like longer than they existed in our like time, you know?
It's confusing to me
Yep.
because there was the whole Shield TV show that's no longer canon.
Yeah.
Like, so every time I keep pulling information from there, and I'm like, wait, that's not. It didn't happen in this universe. It's not a thing
Unless they say otherwise, but yeah.
unless they say otherwise, which I don't think they will.
I mean, Agent Carter is canon, I think. So I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe that'll be the big secret at the end of this. And surprise, it's gonna be another season of Shield because we're making it all canon.
Are we expecting a lot of twists and turns in this show? Like a lot of
Yes.
twists, like M. Night Shyamalan twists, or just
I
normal like spy stuff?
I think they just don't want us to be able to trust anything. The whole point. So yeah, I think they're gonna throw a lot of twists in of just anything.
Yeah.
I would say yes, but also I'm a little scared that they're gonna do that because isn't Secret Invasion like a limited series, like 6 episodes or something?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
like, and we know that one of the downfalls of a lot of the MCU Disney Plus shows is that they give us a lot, but they don't like follow up on everything
Yeah.
towards the end. So I'm really scared that like they'll give us a lot of twists and we'll be surprised. But then like if you give us a twist, you're like supposed to kind of wrap it up in a way. And I don't think a lot of it will be resolved, which will make the twist just seem a lot more like not as like great as it
Yeah.
was. So I kind of hope that they actually don't give us twist just because of that reason. Because I'm like, I'd rather have a conclusive, well-grounded series than one that like jumps from place to place, but then like doesn't end well, like almost like a lot of other Disney
Like yeah,
shows.
a lot of the MCU shows don't stick their landing.
Yeah, so like I'm kind of hoping that they keep it simple just because it's a limited series, but I'm
Yeah.
also like I don't know if they'll do that and they'll be like, yeah, let's give them twists for shock value and it's okay if we don't deliver because like that's kind of the norm anyway, so
Mhm. That's
Falcon
definitely what
and
I
the
do
Winter
not watch.
Soldier was one of my favorite ones, and it did not stick the landing. Like the final
Mm.
episode, I was like, why are they making these choices?
Yeah, that one. I'm not gonna say this feels like a very similar. I don't want to say plot, but I
I
the
mean,
thing about the
kind
Winter
of.
Soldier that I didn't like was the villain because it just didn't feel connected. Like she made
Yeah.
choices. I was like, what? Huh? Like,
The
2 episodes ago, you were like, oh no, like human life is sacred. And then a couple episodes later, you're like, yeah, let's blow everything up. Yeah, it's like, it just didn't make sense to me.
I
So
mean,
hoping
yeah.
they do that correctly this time. And so far, it seems like they are.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's hard to see in the first episode, and as long as the second episode is just as good or a little bit better or whatever, and not like worse, I think that it'll take an. I think it's definitely one of those shows. It's gonna ramp up over time, like over
Mhm.
6 episodes, and it's just gonna start compounding. Maybe that's just my hope or misguided, faith in Marvel. Maybe I don't.
yeah, I think it really depends on like the creatives because I feel like the creatives that are really set out to well, cannot English. I feel like the creatives that are really set out on telling intentional stories, I think they managed to do that pretty well, even given the time constraint. And you can kind of tell like where the MCU wanted something versus the creatives wanted something. Because I just feel like you look at the past two movies, like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was a really good movie with a really good story, but that's also because James Gunn is behind it and he's very passionate about these characters. And you look at Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and it's like, okay, it's like, that's whatever. So I think I don't know too much of the creatives behind the show, but I feel like if they're set out, if you can tell from the interviews they're passionate about what they're doing, they're gonna try their best. I think where we'll see the flaws are like kind of the ones where you can tell like, oh, you know, it's kind of like an exec decision or like they wanted to do something, a specific change. And I'm only saying this because I noticed with Miss Marvel, you can tell with Miss Marvel the creatives had a very like well positioned intention story, and you can also tell where like the MCU wanted something different, the studio. So yeah, I think it really comes down to like who's behind the camera, how passionate are they, and if they are, then where did the studio interfere? And I think that's like the crux of where it could go wrong.
Yeah. We see one scene with Rhodey, and
Yeah.
Rhodey is in the White House with, is he the president or is he one of the department, like the cabinet or something?
I think he's like a department.
Okay.
Oh no, he's the
cabinet or-
president. The guy he was talking to.
Dermot Mulroney.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
That's what I
assumed
got.
he was the
Yeah.
president.
I'm gonna look it up. Is
I'm
President
like
Ritson?
98%
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
He was. Oh, he's mentioned in Wakanda Forever, and this is the first time we're seeing him.
Gotcha.
Mentioned.
I was
as
actually
president.
surprised to see Rhodey there, and I was more surprised to hear the fact that like the government is in communication with like Nick Fury and Hill and like knows about them. I don't know. Is that something they like talked about before in the MCU that I'm just missing context on? Because I was surprised that like the government was in the loop about this and like Rhodey was like telling the president everything. I just feel like that's not something we see often in the MCU. I feel like a lot of what the Avengers do like have been so independent. So
Yeah.
I was surprised to see that connection, I guess.
Are we saying like in the government's in the loop about what? Oh, but that Fury is back on Earth.
Yeah, like Fury and like Hill and stuff.
Yeah.
I guess like I was surprised about that because I feel like I don't know if that was that like pre-established or something. I'm just missing context.
I don't know. Rhodey's been weird lately, and I personally feel like he's been allying himself with the wrong people. He's been taking the wrong sides. I mean, he's been doing that since Tony. Like him and Tony were really close. Tony's dead, but then suddenly, like when he told Sam to like, you know, like turn in the shield and like whatever, and in the beginning, that first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then like the shield goes to John Walker, and that guy didn't deserve the mantle. And then here he's just like buddy with the president. Like, does he just not have any friends anymore?
I generally think that's the thing. Like, I generally think that he was so attached to Tony, and then, like, A, Tony's gone. B, remember he had that whole arc in Civil War where he got injured and he was, like, kind of pushed?
Yeah.
So, like, I guess he probably felt like he was pushed to the sidelines. And then in Endgame, like, he was back, but he, like, he was close with Nebula, which was really interesting.
Yeah.
But I think, like, he's kind of always been on the sidelines, like, even within the Avengers. And I feel like with Tony gone and, like, he's not really War Machine anymore. So he's kind of just, like, latching onto whatever benefits him.
Also, is there a present Avengers team?
No.
We've gotten references to just the Avengers in general, but nobody's said, like, there is a current Avengers team.
Everyone's doing their own thing, which is
Yeah.
what we've been seeing so far. And then they're gonna.
So
come
he has
back
nothing.
together.
He has no Avengers. Doesn't have Tony Stark.
Yeah. Doesn't really have War Machine, so.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we know that like he's gonna have his own show coming up, Armor Wars, and he's probably gonna appear in Ironheart, which is the Riri Williams show, and so he is obviously getting built up to something. That being said, I don't know whether I trust him.
I think that's fair. I feel like they're gonna finally give him like an identity in Armor Wars. I feel like that's my biggest hope for the show, like because the show is kind of being set up for him picking up like the pieces of like Stark Tech and like something about like dealing with the ramifications. I don't remember the exact setup. I
Mm.
feel like hopefully the show gives him an identity beyond Stark's buddy, beyond being an Avenger and like being Rhodey, and hopefully that'll make us trust him more because yeah, he's kind of just been like wherever Tony has been and now wherever benefits him the most. So
Yeah, I feel like he's been like the government's pet recently.
The
yeah.
vibe I get from him is very much like that person who doesn't really know how to think for themselves. So whoever is in the like surrounding them, that's just kind of what they bounce the ideals off of. So when he was
Mm.
with Tony, like he was doing stuff that were like, okay, cool. And then he kind of got shoved into the government sphere over here, and now he's kind of bouncing off those ideas, which is in Winter, the Winter Soldier show, kind of what happened there, I think. So that's just the vibe I get from him. Is it's like he doesn't really have his own thing.
Yeah, he has to
Mhm.
be in service to somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. It's the only scene we got. We only got one scene in this.
But I mean, I feel like we'll get some more,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think, before series is over.
Well, because also they don't cast Dermot Mulroney as the president to not use Dermot Mulroney.
True.
Have you guys watched New Girl?
No.
Like,
Mhm.
okay, because Jess dates him for a little bit. Like, he's such a random actor. He pops up like randomly places. There's an SNL sketch called "Let's Play the Game." Is it Evan McDermott? No, is it Dermot Mulroney or is it Dylan McDermott?
I've seen that. It's
Yeah.
so funny.
I just yeah. So that beginning scene with Ross where he goes to Pescod is the agent's name. And Pescod's like going crazy. Did you guys feel like Ross was a Skrull at that point? Or that he was being thought to be a Skrull and that he's a human, so, you know.
I started. Sorry, you can go
Go ahead.
first.
No, go ahead.
So I think initially I didn't think he was a Skrull, but I kind of started getting the feeling when like Prescott started like talking about like his crazy like theory, and the reaction from Ross was kind of just like very like sublime, like yeah, like okay, like not too much worry because I feel like from what we know of Ross, like he's kind of a worried guy. Like he's always like really like wants to know and stuff. So I had a feeling that he was a Skrull, and then yeah, like that's what it ended up being. So I was like, okay, yeah, he probably is. But yeah, not initially. I think it's gonna be really interesting with the show because you'll like see a lot of characters we know, and you'll be like, oh my god, are they a Skrull or not? And then once the truth is revealed, it'll be like so cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I got right away that he was a Skrull. It didn't help. I was watching it earlier today and it's so bright in my apartment and the show is so dark. I was like, I couldn't see anybody's facial expressions or anything for most of it. But yeah, it's when I forgot the other agent's name was Prescott
Yeah,
was
Prescott.
attacking him and stuff. I was kind of like, oh man, this guy's just like nuts, just gone crazy off the deep end,
Yeah.
sort of thing. But when it did eventually reveal that Ross was a Skrull, I wasn't necessarily surprised. It's like I wasn't expecting it the whole time, but I wasn't like, no way. It's like, okay, makes sense.
Yeah. That being said, why didn't Ross use his super strength and just pin the guy down and kill him?
Took him by surprise. I don't have an answer for you there.
I'm not sure.
I think it's because he really did not want to kill Prescott. He needed things to keep going. He needed to not break his his cover.
Oh,
Right?
not for a moral standing, just for convenience sake. Gotcha.
Well, more than just convenience. I think that it's just easier if you never.
He got broken out of jail by Wakandans. Like he could be in Wakanda. We don't really know where he's at right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he got captured, arrested in
He got broken out by the Midnight Angels, right?
And then he got broken out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now we don't really know where he is. So the Skrull could have been using that to the advantage of like nobody knows where he's at. I'm just going to take his form and go with it. Or it could